Well, she's back to join us for the first time since the beginning of this year. She is a criminal defense attorney. She's a blogger. She's an advocate, and she's here to kind of talk to us about some very important legislative news that's coming our way this summer. I know the news comes fast and furious, but she's going to break some important things down for you. Kyla Lee returns to our city tonight. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
You are quite welcome. I'm really excited to talk about this because, as I said, the news moves really fast, and this is landmark. Am I right? Am I overstating that?
This is probably the biggest moment for criminal law in modern times in Canada.
Okay.
And fast-moving, multiple bills.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 3 criminal code changes that Canadians really need to know. Let's break it down for our viewers. The first one is Bill C-14. This, to me, is the one that really caught my attention. It is the bail and sentencing reform. Walk our viewers through what's going to happen.
So essentially, the criminal code is being amended to make more reverse onuses for bail. So people who have to prove why they should be released as opposed to just the Crown having to prove why they should be detained.
Right.
And a lot of the changes that were brought in under the Trudeau government are being walked back in terms of sentencing. So now actual jail instead of house arrest for many offenses, particularly those involving sex crimes.
The thing that caught me about this, again, as the layperson in this discussion, was what you just said, that now it's less prosecutors having to prove, I guess, why someone should stay in. Now it's the defendant. You're the lawyer. Is that something, is it going to make a huge difference?
It probably won't make a practical difference in how bail hearings are conducted.
Okay.
The Supreme Court of Canada has still said, regardless of who bears the onus, the presumption is always release. And it's just who has to prove why release is justified or why release is not justified. But the court is still going to be looking for the least restrictive measures to put on a person short of detaining them. And if they can do that and protect the public and meet the goals of bail, people are still going to be released on bail.
And could you say, I mean, I know that the person watching that sees the news and gets angry, but they don't know enough. I certainly don't. Does something like this reform, these changes, does that whole catch and release, is that going to make any stance? I said before we went on camera that often these things sound great, but the implementation, and you're on the front lines.
This is the second criminal law bill in the last 18 months that has added more reverse onus provisions, and we haven't seen substantial changes. The test for whether a person gets bail hasn't changed. The Supreme Court of Canada's comments haven't changed. All that's changing is who has to prove that there's a release plan in place or that there's no good basis to release somebody. So practically speaking, that revolving door that people are concerned about, that's not going to change. But also, we only hear about the people who breach their bail conditions. The vast majority of people in Canada released on bail comply with their conditions, and we hear nothing about it because it's not interesting to talk about somebody who followed them.
And news can be very exploitive, of course, yeah. Okay, the next one is to me the most modern that we weren't talking about 10, 12 years ago. This is Bill C-16, Protecting Victims Act. And boy, technology really has become a big part of this.
Yeah, so this one allows the criminal code to be amended to create offenses for distributing AI-generated deepfakes in a sexual context. So if I made a deepfake of you and I at the beach, that's not going to get me a criminal charge.
Well, hang on a bit, but me at the beach, that could.
But if you were to use AI to create some sort of sexually graphic or sexual content about another person, then that could face a criminal charge, and you could end up facing very serious sentences. It's meant to respond to these concerns that have been coming out about revenge porn and the modern ways to commit it.
And does it move things along fast? I mean, there's some protection there now. This is just because I was thinking, I made a point of writing down that, I mean, parents, I can't imagine how a parent has to deal with this of a young, specific, let's say, young female, their daughter, and sons too. How is this going to help them more?
There are protections in place for anybody depicted as being under the age of 18 already under our existing child pornography laws, but this actually expands those protections to people of any age. So it protects anybody from having their image essentially taken from them and then used in this sexually exploitative way. It protects people's dignity, and it also gives the police more investigative power and more investigative tools where people are harassing other people through doing this. Whereas before, the criminal harassment laws, they were very difficult to enforce and implement in a situation like that.
This last one, Never too late to get this done. This Combating Hate Act, walk us through what that details.
Essentially, it is codifying the criminal code definition of hate that is developed in case law, and it's creating a standalone offense for committing a hate crime. Right now, hate crime is just like an aggravating factor on sentence. So if you commit a crime that's motivated by hate, you can get a greater sentence for doing that. But now you would be charged with 2 separate offenses. You'd be charged with the underlying offense and doing the hateful act. So it's meant to deter people from engaging in hateful ways and committing hate crimes by exposing them to greater criminal liability.
I'm a big freedom of expression person. Do you see this turning into a very slippery area? I mean, what you may determine as hate, I mean, it seems cut and dry, but there obviously is not going to be all cut and dry.
No, and the drafters of Parliament have been careful. They've only listed a couple specific symbols as being hate-based symbols. In an earlier version of this legislation, there was more that constituted sort of hate speech under the criminal code, but they've walked that back in this version of the bill. But there are going to be constitutional challenges, as there have been historically to hate-based laws in Canada, because there is a very thin line between your expressive rights. Think, for example, of a lot of the protests around things that are happening in the Middle East. And people who have very different beliefs who feel attacked by other people expressing those beliefs, even if they're not coming from a position of hatred. The code tries to meet this by saying that there has to be the intention to vilify and the intention to generate and promote hate. But proving somebody's intention is always hard to do.
I was just going to say, and is this something that will be ever evolving, though?
Our hate crime laws are going to be ever evolving, especially because we as a society are becoming a little bit more woke about how we treat other people and understand one another. And so we will see this continue to evolve over the years.
Okay. Boy, this has been fascinating, folks. More details on Kyla. It's kylalee.ca. As I said, you're everywhere. We see you on TV and around. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You're out there media-wise because what you offer, a lot of people need to know. So this is one of the many things you can tell our viewers about. Okay, it's Kyla Lee back on our show. And a little teaser here. We're going to have her on the show very soon, but it's going to have nothing to do about the law. That's all we'll say next time you see her on the show. Thanks very much.
Thank you.